The name Green River Killer is one that has haunted the American psyche for decades, symbolizing one of the most infamous and elusive serial killers in U.S. history. For nearly 2 decades, the person behind the killings remained unknown, leaving behind a trail of victims and unanswered questions. When the truth finally emerged, it sent shockwaves through both law enforcement and the public. This is the story of Gary Ridgway, the man responsible for one of the longest and most deadly killing sprees in history, the emergence of a serial killer. The Green River Killer first came to the attention of authorities in the early 1980s, when bodies of young women started appearing along the banks of the Green River in Washington state. The first 5 victims were discovered in 1982, all of them exhibiting similar signs of strangulation and disposal. Most of the victims were women who had been involved in prostitution or had run away from home, making them vulnerable targets. The brutality and frequency of the murders quickly alarmed investigators, leading to one of the most extensive manhunts in American criminal history. The investigation and challenges faced. The investigation into the Green River murders was fraught with challenges. Unlike more impulsive killers, this murderer was meticulous, often leaving little evidence behind. The nature of the victims, many of whom had no fixed addresses, made it difficult for authorities to track their last known whereabouts. Forensic science at the time was still evolving, and with no definitive DNA evidence available in the 1980s, the case largely relied on traditional detective work, witness statements, and profiling. The case saw many suspects, but one of the most infamous early theories was that serial killer Ted Bundy, who was on death row at the time, could offer insights. In a bizarre turn of events, Bundy provided the Green River Task Force with his own psychological profiling of the killer, suggesting that he would revisit crime scenes and even engage in necrophilia. Bundy's assistance, while chilling, provided investigators with a crucial psychological blueprint for the man they were hunting: the capture of Gary Ridgway. Despite years of frustration, the turning point came with advancements in forensic science. In the late 1990s, DNA technology had progressed enough to allow investigators to re-examine evidence collected from the early crime scenes. In 2001, a DNA match was made to a local truck painter named Gary Ridgway. This breakthrough led to his arrest and subsequent confession. Ridgway, who had been questioned multiple times throughout the investigation, had skillfully managed to elude capture by leading an outwardly normal life. He was married, held a steady job, and blended into society seamlessly, making it difficult for anyone to suspect him of such horrific crimes. However, once the DNA evidence linked him definitively to several victims, his facade crumbled. The shocking confession. Following his arrest, Ridgway initially denied involvement in the murders. However, faced with overwhelming evidence, he eventually confessed to killing at least 71 women, though many experts believe the actual number may be even higher. His method was chillingly methodical. He would gain the trust of his victims before strangling them, often using ligatures or his bare hands. He then disposed of their bodies in remote areas, frequently revisiting the crime scenes to move remains or engage in further acts of depravity. His confession was part of a plea deal which allowed him to avoid the death penalty in exchange for revealing the locations of more victims. This decision was met with mixed reactions from the families of the victims, some of whom wished for his execution, while others found solace in the closure his admissions provided. The trial and sentencing. In 2003, Gary Ridgway was formally charged with 48 counts of murder, cementing his place as the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history at the time. Known as the Green River Killer, Ridgway targeted vulnerable women, many of whom were runaways or sex workers, over a span of nearly 2 decades. His ability to evade law enforcement for so long made his eventual capture one of the most significant moments in criminal justice history. When he finally appeared in court, Ridgway displayed little emotion, remaining expressionless as the families of his victims delivered impact statements detailing their grief, anger, and pain. One of the most memorable and emotional moments came when Robert Rule, the father of one of the victims, directly addressed Ridgway. With remarkable composure and grace, Rule stated, "You've made it difficult to live up to what I believe, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. You are forgiven, sir." His words stood in stark contrast to the overwhelming anguish felt by so many others in the courtroom. Ultimately, Ridgway was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Though his sentencing ensured he would never be able to harm another person again, it did little to erase the deep scars he left on the families of his victims and the communities he terrorized. The Green River Killer's legacy remains a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath an unassuming exterior. The impact of his crimes. The Green River Killer's reign of terror had far-reaching consequences. His case exposed significant shortcomings in how law enforcement handled missing persons cases, particularly those involving marginalized communities like sex workers and runaways. It also highlighted the importance of forensic advancements, proving that DNA technology could be the key to solving even the most elusive crimes. Beyond the investigative lessons, the case left a lasting emotional scar on the families of the victims. Many never received full closure, as Ridgway himself could not recall all the details of his crimes or even the names of some of the women he killed. This lack of closure remains one of the most heartbreaking aspects of his legacy. Lingering questions and theories. Even with Ridgway behind bars, questions persist. Was he truly responsible for all the killings attributed to the Green River Killer? Or were there other unidentified perpetrators? Given his history of lying and manipulation, can his confessions be taken at face value? Additionally, what allowed Ridgway to evade justice for so long? Was it solely the limitations of forensic science at the time? Or did societal biases against the victims contribute to the delay in capturing him? His case also sparks a larger discussion on the psychology of serial killers. Ridgway claimed he killed because he hated prostitutes and wanted to clean up the streets, yet he continued his crimes for decades without remorse. What drives a person to commit such heinous acts repeatedly, and can early intervention ever prevent the making? The Green River Killer case stands as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind an ordinary facade. Gary Ridgway was not the stereotypical serial killer. He was a seemingly normal man with a family, a stable job, and an unassuming presence. Yet beneath that exterior lay one of the most prolific murderers in history. While forensic science and investigative techniques have improved since his capture, the case still leaves us with unsettling questions about justice, victimization, and the nature of evil. Could a modern-day Green River Killer still evade capture for so long? Have we truly learned from the past, or are there still gaps in the system that allow predators to thrive in the shadows? Only time will tell, but one thing remains certain. The victims of the Green River Killer will never be forgotten. Their stories serve as both a cautionary tale and a driving force for continued progress in law enforcement and forensic science. So as we reflect on the horror Ridgway inflicted, we must ask ourselves, how many other unknown predators remain hidden among us, waiting to be unmasked? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thank you.